Hey guys, welcome back to PG Mid-Atlantic Spittin' Seeds podcast. My name is Gary Wilson along with John McAdams. Today we have special guest Ken Spangenberg from Maple Zone Sports Institute out of Garnet Valley, Pennsylvania. Thanks for being on, Ken. How are you?
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well. Absolutely.
Absolutely. How's everybody doing over at MSI? Everybody staying safe?
Yeah, we're definitely staying safe. I think we were one of the first facilities to close. Just in talking to, all the doctors that we know, people in public health, they all said to take this seriously. So I think whereas like the media was kind of split between whether this was going to be a big deal or not, everyone that worked in that world told us it was going to be pretty ugly. So we've been shut down for a few weeks now.
That's good. Yeah, you got to take those precautionary measures. I think at the beginning of this, a lot of people didn't think it was going to be as big of a deal as it is. Our office has been closed down for 3 weeks now also, just because, with us being in an office and recycled air, we didn't want to take any chances. So, hopefully everybody's well and safe and everybody stays well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I really don't think we're going to realize how big a deal this is for years to come.
Yeah.
I mean, I am not a historian, but I really don't think that there was a time where everyone was quarantined for multiple months at a time.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some pretty extraordinary things that have happened in our lifetime that we've gotten to experience. Mostly extraordinary bad, but
Yeah.
it's hopefully it helps everybody to grow and too many people don't get sick. But
Sure.
first thing, this is the Spittin' Seeds podcast, so we got to ask you, what's your go-to sunflower seed?
So that's tough because we have turf now. So my seed intake has gone down a lot in the past few years because we don't want to ruin it. Back in the day, I was a David's Ranch guy, so pretty classic.
Nice. Yeah,
Nothing too crazy.
we've only had either ranch or original so far. So those are the two most popular so far.
Yeah, nothing exotic yet.
No, nothing crazy.
Nice.
All right, so we've been talking to some other guys, and we want to know from you, what you've been doing to keep up with your players, stay in communication with them as far as their workouts, their training, to find out about their progression. I know I follow you guys on Instagram. I see that you're posting videos of kids working out at home. I also see that you're doing something cool with class videos on Zoom. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we're doing a bunch of different things, to keep the players active, keep them in the right mindset. Because at the end of the day, we're going to be playing baseball, and the guys that handle this downtime, this off time, the best are going to be the ones that are going to stand out. Especially for the guys who want to play in college or going to have the opportunity to be recruited this summer. I mean, it's even more important for them. So there's a couple different levels of engagement that we're working on. The Zoom classes is something that we started this past week. So basically throughout the day, there's classes on pitching, hitting, baseball mindset, recruiting. We're going to start having different coaches and special guests on just to talk some baseball and keep these guys, motivated. Because like I said, we're going to be playing baseball. So it's been really cool so far. I think once the guys realized it wasn't school and there wasn't going to be like tests and, guys aren't going to be failed. It's been really cool. And we're excited to kind of grow this from here. And honestly, after doing it for only a few days, I think it's going to be something that we continue
Sure.
even when we're back, because it's really, as you guys know, it's really tough to get, 50, 70, 80, 100 people together. So whether it's team meetings or, continuing education, it's been a really cool tool, and it's something that we never would have used, I don't think, unless we were in the situation. So I think that's been kind of a blessing in disguise. So if you guys want to come on and talk, let me know.
We've talked about it. I mean, me and Gary have kind of talked about it with some of the previous guys too. Just how refreshing it is, kind of the ingenuity that's going on, whether it's stuff like Zoom classes, program wide, and so forth, or even what the kids are kind of implementing, what they have at home, whether it's obscure objects to kind of lift with, playing catch in various ways, throwing against certain stuff. I mean, you guys actually are one of the first ones or first programs we've talked about you guys kind of have the full gamut of stuff. So you guys do where you have Rob Rabina doing training with your guys' players that are within the MSI program, pro guys, college guys. And then you got guys like yourself doing hitting and infielding, and George Zirkle doing the pitching stuff, obviously with Edgertronic cameras and so forth. So obviously you guys get big into that stuff. And I know your PDP program is a big initiative that you guys have going on with regards to that stuff too. So it's kind of refreshing and cool to kind of go back to the old school mentalities because we do have so much technology and instruction, structured stuff at our fingertips. So it's kind of refreshing to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that stuff's always going to have a lot of value. We use technology, obviously, a lot. But at the end of the day, we're coaching people. So I think being able to connect with them, and that's the other thing. We're not just talking about baseball. We had a session last night where we were kind of just talking about, dealing with this situation, which I think is really cool. It might be guys under baseball. It might be something that, a 12 to 17-year-old would normally talk about, it's a history class or something, but because it's 30 dudes talking about baseball and, it's been really cool. But you mentioned technology. So we use Track. It's Driveline's training software. So basically it's something all of our players have, and they have a calendar of workouts. So everyone's kind of getting their own workout. Do you guys want me to show you? I can screen share it.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
Cool. So I've only done this a couple times, so hopefully it goes well.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you never thought that this time would be a time to get innovative and maybe create new product lines or new tools for your training. And it's cool that that you mentioned, these new things that we're doing because we can't be with each other are going to be tools that we're going to use in the future. So that's actually really interesting.
Yeah, this is actually what we use for PDP. So it really has been something that we have been doing. Now it's just the only way we can communicate with guys. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, perfect. So Gavin Lill is someone we'll talk about when we start talking about players, but he's 2022. He's been with us for probably about a year at this point. So Gavin would open up his daily calendar. He's a PO, so if a guy's a two-way guy, they would also have hitting in here too.
Okay.
So the orange is going to be his strength and conditioning stuff. So he would go in, he would get his workout right here, click complete once he gets it, so we can monitor to make sure he's doing everything. Then after that, he would go into his throwing program. Gavin's the guy who does use weighted balls. So if you scroll down here, you see basically what he would be doing. He has his own set. So obviously it's color coordinated with the weights and it's got the reps. He's a guy who knows all this stuff, but a lot of the more exotic throwing patterns, there's going to be video attached to it as well.
That's awesome.
Wow, that is cool.
Go through all that stuff, and that would be his day. And you see it's programmed out a few weeks at a time. So obviously, whether it's the throwing, whether it's hitting, or the sports performance end, they're not going to do the same thing for more than 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Sure.
And we've tried, especially on the hitting end, because I think I'm going to stop the share now. So just good.
Yeah, that was really cool. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So from like a hitting standpoint, obviously you have to get really creative because some guys are going to have a tee, some guys are going to have a cage in their backyard.
Mm-hmm.
So I think teaching them how to make a makeshift weighted bat, a penny bat or a light bat, weighted balls, even like a med ball, like filling a backpack with stuff.
Yeah.
So kind of going through all that stuff too has been interesting. So it's not the programming we've normally been doing. It's like kind of runs a Rocky IV. Like we're out in Moscow and like a barn to figure out how to make it work. But it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, and that innovation, I mean, those guys and everybody obviously is a program and throughout our region and all throughout the country and the world, obviously baseball is a big thing, but the innovation that you guys do on a daily basis and other guys are doing, I mean, we can see now you guys are at the forefront of a lot of things with regards to tracking, monitoring, holding them accountable. That's a big thing too. I mean, if like you said, you can't get guys in groups of 50 or 70, but stuff like track or if you have a hitting sensor type thing like a blast motion, it's holding some guys accountable with what they're putting in and then eventually what they're going to get out. So that's a big thing. Obviously, you guys are a part of, and it's definitely interesting with that. Now I know you guys, like we said, the full gamut. kind of the NCAA came out yesterday with the blanket waiver on eligibility stuff. And then you guys have obviously long history of guys in college or moving on to college, and then guys that are committed now too with high school seniors. What's your thoughts on, one, the blanket eligibility waiver, the shortened seasons, and what have you been hearing from some of your guys, whether it's college eligible guys for the draft and or high school guys eligible for the draft, what their thought processes are?
Yeah, I mean, this is again, like we talked about right in the beginning, like the situation I don't think any of us ever even fathomed. So with the D1 coming out and saying what they were planning on doing, I think it's still going to take some time. I'll be curious to see if the MLB puts a deadline on when they can sign guys, because I think that's going to dictate who comes back to college. I think it's very safe to say that one, everyone's going to be negatively affected at some extent with this, whether you're a draft eligible guy, whether you're a freshman going into college, or whether you're a pro. With that being said, we have to make the best of the situation. I think it's very safe to say or bet that this is going to be the best college baseball has ever been over the next couple of years. We're not going to be seeing these guys go to pro ball. It's going to be really interesting. I mean, you have to basically think that the 2019 and 2020 classes have now combined.
Sure.
So you have one monster class coming. You have guys that are basically going to be in a college program for a year that are still freshmen. I think it's important to realize, though, that just because guys are given another year doesn't mean they're all going to take it. So you're going to have guys who don't want to pay for a fifth-year school who aren't going to come back. And then, at least what I interpreted, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's also by conference. So conferences can say, no, we're only letting seniors have it, or we're letting no one have it. So it'll be interesting to see what the Power Fives do, because they're probably going to dictate what all the low guys do.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'll be really curious. I mean, I think guys are excited that they get a year back, but that also is going to come with a lot of challenges. And again, it's going to be, who takes this time that we have, off seriously.
Absolutely.
So it'll be a war.
Do you have any guys, particularly like possibly Luke Coleman or some of your higher level guys that were potential draft guys out of high school? Have you spoken to them on what their thought process is now that it's more likely maybe they end up on campus than if they were to get drafted, if the rounds are kind of truncated, or any thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, just to speak generally, I think a lot of the guys who would potentially get drafted are going to go to college. Whether they go to the Division I school that they originally planned, or whether they go to junior college to be draft eligible after their freshman year, is probably going to be another story. I would imagine, just like Division I baseball, like junior college is going to be, there's going to be some monster teams.
They're going to be loaded.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be loaded. Because if I'm a high school guy and I was projected to go in the 10th round, like, it's very tempting to go to a junior college, play a year, they double the rounds for next year, and play pro ball as a 19-year-old instead of having to wait 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it'll be really interesting to see what happens. I don't think we have all the information yet to really be able to tell what's going to happen. But like I said, I think it's guaranteed that college baseball, really at all levels, because you think about it, like, there's going to be more Division I players that are unhappy than ever before. Where are they?
Absolutely.
Division II, and it's going to trickle down.
Yeah, trickle down effect.
I don't think it matters what division we're talking about. We're entering like the golden years of college baseball. It's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, you're right. Most of it is all speculation. So it's very just conversation with opinions of what might happen. But another topic that we've been talking about, and John and the scouting crew from Perfect Game have created, a Twitter handle for uncommitted guys, just to have them get more exposure on a platform. But another speculation, like Northeast high school baseball may be canceled for the year. Travel ball might not be able to start for a little while. So, there's 2020 and 2021 guys that, aren't committed to a college yet, especially the 2020s that aren't committed, and they're losing their senior year of high school baseball. They may not be able to get out on the field for a while during the summer. And we've been talking about, what those guys are doing, or what the travel programs are doing to help those guys get exposed to try and get them into college. Now, I don't know if you have many of those guys, but if you do, what have you guys been talking about for those guys?
Cool. So we were lucky enough to place all of our 20s, so we don't have to worry about any guys like that.
Awesome.
We do have upwards of 30 21s that are uncommitted. We were, I guess, lucky enough in this situation that we have video on all of them that was professionally done in February. So right now, we gave the college coaches a few weeks because obviously they took a big blow on all this too.
Yeah, they're swamped.
Kind of gave them some time to just relax, kind of get back to wanting to be around baseball again, and started reaching out to try to place these guys. So I think the video is really helpful. If I'm a 2020 and I'm uncommitted, I'm just coming back to it. I'm working really hard right now because at some point they're going to have the chance to showcase themselves, and it's kind of up to them whether that's going to be a good or a bad showcase.
Yeah.
Video and the fact that we have we're all holding very high speed cameras in our phones. It's really cool now.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see guys take some gap years, meaning they're going to take this next year off and just train. In which case, we have the semi-private training when guys can come in anywhere between 25 to 40 hours, depending on the time of the year. So we do expect for more gap year guys than what we've had.
Absolutely.
In the past year, we've had 5, 6, 7, somewhere in that range. I think there's going to be upwards of 15, 20, 25. I think this is where you see your Division IIIs, your junior colleges, your smaller D2s getting guys that they're good players, but they just kind of popped late or they were missed for whatever reason.
Yeah,
absolutely. I
think it'll be good.
Oh no, go ahead. I was just agreeing.
No, I was going to say I think it's the other X factor here is the SATs or the ACTs. These people, some of them are not going to be able to take them. So it sounds like a lot of the schools are going to end up being test optional, which can either help or hurt certain guys. So I think that's an interesting wrinkle that we haven't really talked about.
Yeah.
So again,
and I think everybody's kind of narrowed in on what's going to happen baseball wise, and they don't put that into perspective. So this is a good perspective that nobody's really touched on yet. Whether schools become test optional, whether a kid who's uncommitted, who may be in that realm of, hey, maybe he's a little bit undersized, so maybe, and the gap year may do him better, and end up at a school that he may not have anyway.
Yeah, we're a big fan of, not necessarily the gap year, but even a junior college. I think recruiting, because of honestly how good a job you guys do with just exposing players, has become who's the best 15-year-old, and that's not necessarily who the best 20-year-old is.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys are going to develop differently, and that kid who has a mustache and is 6'1" at 15, he has a pretty big advantage on the kid who's 5'6" and $120, and that doesn't mean that advantage is going to be there in a few years. So I do think for certain guys the gap year is great, but it's going to be how they use that year. If they just screw around and treat it as just a vacation, you just wasted a big year, and you're probably in a worse spot than you were before you took it.
Yeah.
But I'll be curious to see. And then obviously post grad is another option, but with the price tag on that knocked out a lot of families with them being 50, 60, 70K a year.
Yeah.
Sure. Now, so kind of to go through that, we've gone through obviously what you guys are doing to help your guys' players. I'm going to put my scouting hat on. So you guys, like I said, you're innovative with the way you guys do training. You guys are also at the forefront of some type of events that you run within your facility, like the MLK Pro Invite. So you guys kind of have guys that are in that realm of being top level players. And then obviously to expand upon it, your MSI teams have had various guys commit to every type of school, from a Patriot League or an Ivy League. Guys like Quinn Blackman and Jeff Exeter going to Lehigh. And even special circumstances, like a guy that I'm always interested in is Tywone Malone, who's a top football guy, but also can absolutely annihilate baseballs. So if you wanted to kind of highlight some top level guys or guys that you guys are proud of that fully embody the MSI method, and then some maybe sleepers that we don't know about or that are going to be big in these next couple years.
Yeah, for sure. I think we have a ton of guys that we're proud of. I think just because of the glorification of committing. Everyone thinks that that's like the ACC, SEC, Power 5 guy, and that's not the case here. I mean, I'm just as pumped for a guy to commit to a Division 3 school that he loves as a Division 1. But as far as just like top end talent alone is really special. I mean, I really have not been around a player his size, which he's all of 6'4", 6'5", 290, 300 pounds, who moves like he does. Like, he's a top 20 football player in the country. He's got full rides to essentially every football school he can imagine, but he needs to go somewhere where he's going to play baseball. I mean, that's the biggest thing that's echoed to us, is that it doesn't matter if it's Alabama if he's not an option. So it's been a cool wrinkle, because it's not something I've ever dealt with or our coaches have ever dealt with. Will Liggins, who you guys might know, is his coach and has done a really good job. I mean, he's went on a few like ACC and SEC visits where they've already said like, hey, you can do both. So it'll be really interesting to see where he ends up, because the football timeline, he's going to at least take the summer before he commits. So on the baseball end, he's going to be free, because football is going to be paying for him most likely.
Yeah.
But I think if, the draft was 40 rounds and, he's in it in a couple of years, he's going to get drafted.
Yeah.
Because that athleticism and size, it's special. And he's a great kid.
Funny story really about him, actually. The intrigue about him is a player that I used to coach lives in the same town as him, and his office happens to be across from a soccer field. And there was a commotion going on, and he was interested to see what it was, and he's known Tyrone forever. And he looked outside, and Tyrone was playing soccer with a bunch of soccer players. And he was good at it. And that was the crazy thing. They were like, he was going around and dribbling around these kids that were actual soccer players. And this big 6'3", 6'4", 290-pound guy had twinkle toes. So it's intriguing. He's an intriguing prospect. And I mean, I know you guys, the MLKA Pro invite, you have tons of talent that comes in, not just necessarily that played for MSI, but just tons of talent within our region. And then guys in certain situations where we have guys like Jake Kubler, who I've known for a while, who's kind of progressed and then got himself to the point where now he's committed to USC Upstate, or a Luke Coleman, who was in the qualifier this past fall and has an electric arm. Guys that he's committed to Alabama, for those guys that don't know. And then I'm sure there's guys that we don't know about, or we may soon find out about too as well.
Yeah, I think we have a really quality group of 2022s who are definitely under the radar. Part of that might be my fault, because we keep talking about like making sure you're really good first. Like, don't worry about going to 50 showcases if you're going to go there, throw 78 and run a 7.6. So a couple names that I think are going to really surprise some people. 2 right-handed pitchers, they're 22s. It's going to be Riley Jones, who's, all of 6'5". He's going to be like 84, 86. With a ton of projectability. He's definitely going to be a guy's Jersey guy. And then the remote program actually showed you guys Gavin Lill. He's 6'2", 6'3", moves really well. He's going to be in that 84, 86 range as well, and can really pitch. And those guys have started to get some interest, but I think that they're both going to be 90s guys relatively soon. Good athletes, good bodies, and again, guys who are in the facility like every day working.
Sure.
And I think we have 2. I can't imagine someone having 2 better uncommitted 22 catchers than we have. Jackson Ratecki, who's, again, a physical guy, 6'1", 6'2", left-handed hitter, can really swing it. And then Andrew Lombardi, who's a Jersey guy, a little undersized, but honestly, I haven't seen many players who receive and block like him. Like, he is an elite receiver, an elite blocker, and he's going to get a lot of love. So
which
we're
is
really
definitely
excited.
a lost art, right?
It's unbelievable, actually. Like, you just assume, I think it's like playing outfield. Like, you just assume they can do it. You assume every catcher can receive and block ball, but it's really rare. Like, you watch him versus even some of our college or pro guys, and like, you know what? Like, this sophomore is better.
Yeah.
So
he's very intense too. I've seen him play a couple times. He commands a pitching staff, commands the field. Yes. He's into the game. He's what that prototypical catcher, balls to the wall type leader guy.
Yeah, he just has that energy. Whatever room he's in, like, guys are going to bring it. So he's been a good addition for us too. Then I guess the last guy's been getting a lot of attention lately, Tim Dickinson. So he's a shortstop from Garnet Valley, so right in our backyard. I think he's that guy who like is just a gamer, can really swing it, has great at bats. As he grows physically, like he's gonna just become a monster. It's just gonna be getting bigger, getting stronger, because all of the movement and the baseball specific skills and the mindset are right there. So those are the guys we're really excited about. I think there's a bunch of other guys, and you guys have seen it. Like I wouldn't be shocked if they're mid-level Division I guys, or if they're D3 guys. This next year of working and getting bigger, getting stronger is going to be huge for a lot of these guys.
Absolutely. And I mean, you guys have they're fortunate enough to have guys like you, guys like Rob at their fingertips to access. I mean, you were a former college coach, former college player. You had a first-round draft pick as your brother. So you've been through a lot of the process that these guys are now kind of going through, whether it's from a daily grind of being a player, daily grind of being a coach, or what they look for. And then even what your brother had to go through in his draft process, going from VMI to junior college and then being a first-rounder. So you've kind of seen a lot of what's going on. So it's good for those guys that are in that MSI program to have you guys, yourself, and other guys at the forefront for them.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And the fact that we have all these professional players, I think, really helps too. Like the past 2 days, we've had a pro guy in the Zoom calls, all with different ways to get there. It's not like everybody's a top 10 guy in the country and then they get drafted top 10 and they play in the big leagues. Like there are guys who go to small Division I's who just pop. So it's cool to hear, their different stories as well. And I think that really resonates with the guys. I'm 34 now, so I guess I'm getting a little bit older. So I think they might relate better to someone who's like 23. Like we had Ty Hill on yesterday. And he didn't have a Division I offer out of high school, signed for nothing, played a couple of years of affiliated ball, did really well, ended up just getting blocked in the organization he was in. Got released, played indie ball, got picked up that same summer, and toured up for the Royals in Wilmington for the Blue Rocks. And he had a really good off season. So I mean, he's a guy that
it's a great story.
Talk to some of our players. It's really cool. And then he's just around all the time too, and he's a really approachable guy. I think that helps.
A guy like that will teach you a work ethic.
Yeah,
for sure. And then Dzansky, right? Brad Dzansky?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So he's around. A lot of the pro guys will work out in the mornings. He'll come in while everyone else is there. So that's really cool for the guys just to watch how he gets after it.
That is cool.
And if you've seen him recently, like he's a physical guy. So you can imagine him lifting next to like 13-year-olds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's just a cool environment.
Yeah, it's a cool experience that guys that are at the facility get to experience, from the pro aspect, the college guys coming in, and just being like role models. I mean, they see you guys as leaders of the program as role models, and then they actually get to see what potentially the fruits of their labor end up being, or what's necessary to kind of get to that point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't look at it as leaders. Like we all have the same goals. We're all just trying to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
We just have different things to be really good at.
Absolutely.
So and that's why we like the semi-private training over the lessons, is that guys can literally be in the facility for 25 hours a week. It's tough to build relationships in half-hour stints once a week. It just doesn't really happen. Kind of like homeschooling your kids. They don't get to talk to anybody. They don't get to watch other kids. They don't get to learn and compete, and even like just joke around and have fun.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see like the awkward 13-year-old come in, can't even look you in the eyes the first day, but by the fourth day, he's, getting after it, messing around, talking to college guys. So that's been a really cool side effect's not the right word, but it's the one that
just growing into a man
right now.
Yeah.
By being around other men.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
It's awesome. Well, hey, Ken, we appreciate you being on. We look forward to seeing MSI out on the field, sooner than later.
Yeah, hopefully soon.
We appreciate your support with PG, and if you want to go ahead and share your social media handles just for everybody to follow and see what you guys are doing, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So you can follow us at MSI_baseball. That's Twitter, Instagram. Then I'm Ken Spange on Twitter and Coach Spange on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, again, we appreciate you being on, and we can't wait to see you out on the field.
Yeah, same guys. Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Ken.
Have a good one.